Welcome back to Montober. Friday the 13th Part 2, while not my favorite film in the franchise, is my most rewatchable. It introduces Jason proper, and while not in the hockey mask, which is what everyone thinks of him with, instead we get Sackhead Jason, which is a look I personally find more creepy than the hockey mask. Yes, the hockey mask is cooler and more iconic, but there's something a little more unsettling about this look. The movie starts off 2 months after the first one, with Jason killing Alice, the lone survivor from the first film. And then we cut to 5 years later, where in the same area, there's a counselor training ground opening up. And this is the first class of counselors going to hone their skills. But it's close to Crystal Lake. It's close to Jason's shack in the woods. And Jason takes a disliking to these people being in the area. This film has easily one of the best final girls in horror movie history in Jenny, who outsmarts Jason, who uses the child psychology she's studying as a weapon against him. And overall, it's got the characters are shallow but not uninteresting. Most of them, are there to be killed by Jason, but none of them are what I would call boring characters. There's one pervy creep you can't wait for Jason to get his hands on. But it's a fun group of people to spend time with in this movie. And it's got great cinematography. It's shot in a similar way to the first film. It feels like the first film in a lot of ways, which is something I love about the first two movies. It's a lot of people like to say that, and it's true, you can watch Halloween 1 and 2 as one complete movie, but in some ways with the cinematography and whatnot, they have two different feels to them to a degree. This film and the original have an identical feel and could in a lot of ways be more seamlessly edited together as one film. And what I love about this as an early Friday the 13th is we get to see more time with Jason in the background stalking his opponents, and we might see his feet, might see his hands, but we don't see the proper Sackhead till towards the end of the movie. And it builds suspense, and we see Jason has become an urban legend. There's the scene where they're telling the story around the campfire, and the one guy jumps out. And overall, it's a fun movie with a creepy, subtly creepy, suspenseful atmosphere that really delivers on what it should be. This is a perfect sequel, in my opinion. And I also feel it surpasses the original. Friday the 13th is one of those rare franchises where you don't necessarily have as many people saying the original is their favorite. Most people's favorite is part 4. Mine, it fluctuates. If you ask me on a Monday, I'll say part 4. If you ask me on a Tuesday, I might say part 6. But like I said, part 2 I rewatch the most because, they're all Jason taking out people in the woods. But to me, this is the perfect, while not my favorite, is a perfect version of Jason doing his thing in the woods, and it has a lot of my favorite type things that kind of went away as the film went on, where we see Jason more methodically take taking his time stalking the victims, where we get the POV shots and we're seeing it from Jason's point of view without actually seeing Jason. And I kind of wish they would have kept with that. If they do, when the whole legal matters are settled, I'd actually like to see the next Friday the 13th film go back to that to a degree. Yeah, maybe have the camera with Jason more so we could see him, but give us Jason's point of view, make him stalk his victims more methodically, and make us more scared for the victims. Now, this film is kind of slow until the halfway through the second act when Jason starts doing his things more. There's a few scenes before that he kills the old guy from the first film, and he kills the sheriff, which they decided to kill the sheriff because they didn't want the feeling that there would be any hope of the cavalry coming to rescue these kids. And he may or may not have killed the one character's dog, Muffin, Terry's dog, Muffin. It's left ambiguous. But again, I like that it doesn't answer that question and it leaves what happened up in the air. As well as the ending leaves some things ambiguous too, but the final chase scene, it leads up to where last night on the town, a bunch of characters go out drinking while Jason's victims stay behind, and we get Jason methodically taking them out one by one, stealthily, quietly. And it keeps building tension, where we get the most memorable scene with Mark getting hit in the face with the machete and his wheelchair going down the stairs. And not all the characters go back to the camp. There's one who, this is the luckiest guy ever to be in a Friday the 13th film, because he gets roaring wasted and goes to another bar, while Paul and Jenny go back to the camp, which he definitely would have been killed. And Paul gets knocked out, and we get a prolonged chase scene that, the way it's edited and shot, it does feel like this chase, it was probably a couple-hour long game of cat and mouse, where Jason's getting close, she gets away, manages to fake him out. Eventually, she knocks him out and leads him to the cabin where he has a shrine to his mother, and we see bodies, a machete, candles, and she puts on the sweater and tries to trick Jason, which briefly works until Jason sees his mother's head, and Paul comes at the last second for a save, and they take Jason out. Now, the biggest down to this is we get a scene at the end where Jason jumps through a window and grabs Jenny, and it's presumably another fake out scene like the dream sequence from the first one, only Paul is nowhere to be found. So what happened, I don't personally believe that was a fake out scene, so to speak. I don't know if... I'm on the fence. Either Jason really did go through the window, Paul managed to run off fighting Jason to save her. Who knows? Again, it's left ambiguous, and there's no clear answer as to what could happen. All I know is Jason jumps through the window, grabs her, she wakes up, she's being taken off in an ambulance, and Paul is nowhere to be found. So, draw your own conclusion. Like I said, it's the one mixed aspect I really have for this movie is the whole fake out ending. It was done so flawlessly in the first one, it did not need to be recreated, but it's 100 times better than the fake out in part 3. So, Friday the 13th part 2, which I'm going to get it out there too before anyone says anything in the comments. Rest in peace, Steve Dash, who played Jason in part 2. Phenomenal Jason. But this film, my rating, I'm going to give it an A minus, somewhere around there. And don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and my next review may be a video game review, because I do want to do at least one horror game for Montober, but be on the lookout for John Carpenter's The Fog coming very soon. Like, share, comment, subscribe, over and out.